Are people grasping at straws? There is more speculation on this top 10 trending list than we've discussed in over a year, maybe two. Hit the like and subscribe, and Russ, our LCS owner, will hit you at number 10.
New book this week, number 10 on the list, Uncanny X-Men, the 1 in 50 variant. $60 average sales, high raw sale of $132 for a Jim Lee throwback variant.
This is a gorgeous Savage Land Rogue cover, and it's a Jim Lee cover. And it's not like he went from DC and gave some time to Marvel to make something new. This is from the vault. They call these hidden gem variants repurposed art so they can make a dope cover to appease the collectors. And clearly they are very excited about it.
This is kind of a cool idea because Marvel already owns the art, and we've gotten to see some amazing covers where they repurpose these. Alex Ross had a huge run of timeless covers. George Perez did covers. We have a Jack Kirby cover out there. We've seen McFarlane. We've seen Liefeld. They've actually done throwbacks of stuff that the guys did 30 plus years ago.
Clearly, the covers that perform the best, however, are the strong covers, the ones from major characters from creators that you wouldn't see at Marvel now, like Todd McFarlane and Jim Lee.
You might be confused, thinking, didn't we just get X-Men #1? But that was regular X-Men #1 that came out a few weeks ago. This is Uncanny X-Men #1. We also got X-Force #1 recently. X-Factor #1 is coming out next week. We are in the middle of the X-Men reboot from the ashes, so this is just one more step in this road.
Gail Simone, David Marquez, let us know in the comment section below if you are up on your X-Men and what you are choosing to read. There's a lot of them. Pick up Ultimate X-Men by Peach Momoko. Probably the best. I digress, because at the list at number 9, we got Wolverine 66, Old Man Logan's first appearance.
Coming out in 2008, this is one of the first books I remember seeing on the wall when I went into a comic shop for the first time back in college. We're seeing $20 average sales with a high 9.8 hitting $153 just a couple days ago, and there's a 433% increase in copies sold, probably because we got a very brief glimpse of Old Man Logan himself recently in Deadpool and Wolverine.
I want to go too ham on this comic book. I think the time to shine for this modern classic key was with Logan, and even if Hugh Jackman does reprise his role as Logan again, which he probably will, it's not going to feel as impactful and as Old Man Logan-like as that former movie.
If you like Old Man Logan, you should also check out his 2015 solo run that was a tie-in to that Secret Wars series. It's over on the Trending 20 list, the larger list that we source all these books from, on the Key Collector app right now. That book had a 450% increase in copies sold.
That's right. There are more trending books. We could have placed Old Man Logan 1 at the list at number 9. I like putting the Key book here, though, because it has been moving pretty aggressively. Download the app. Utilize code TOM101. You directly support the show, but you get access to the best comic book app in existence. You're going to learn so much about funny books, and you're going to up your game while you're on the hunt.
Number 8 on the list, another book that has very little to go on spec-wise, Daredevil number 37. This is a fantastically cool cover where you have Daredevil fighting Dr. Doom for the first... No, wait. They actually encounter each other 3 years earlier in Fantastic Four number 39, and they're both on the cover there. So why this book? There's not a whole lot to go on, but it's a cool cover. It's going to be really condition sensitive because it's black. People are buying it. $210 average sales, and a CDC 9.4 just went for $354. That seems like a great price. This book went up 467% increase in copies sold this week. But again, we don't have any news that Doom is going to be hanging out with Daredevil anytime soon, and the odds of him showing up in Daredevil Born Again is like none.
It says Dr. Doom on the cover. It's a tough cover. That black cover is notorious for imperfections. It's really tough getting this in high grade. And there's a handful of books that get that key significance when Doom crosses over in title for the first time, because he's one of Marvel's greatest villains of all time. And what are some of the few off the cuff that we think of when we think of Dr. Doom?
Fantastic Four 57, which is an early Silver Surfer appearance, but not so much to be super expensive. That book just pops. Great colors, and Doom is just looming over everything.
You got Hero for Hire 8 that I always think of. That's Luke Cage and Dr. Doom. You got Amazing Spider-Man number 5. That's an early as hell crossover.
You've got Doom meeting Black Panther in Astonishing Tales number 6, Hulk and Doom on the cover of Hulk 143, and then Avengers 25, which I think we've actually talked about on the list recently. Which one of these is your favorite? Let us know in the comments. I'm going to take it to number 7 on the list with a really modern book here, A Vicious Circle, number 1 from 2022. We've talked about this book quite a lot recently. We're seeing $12 average sales but there are no new slabs since we last talked about this book a month ago. There's still only 3 slabs total in the census.
Optioned by Universal Pictures recently by Mattson Tomlin as well as Ryan Coogler. Huge names. So there's a lot of buzz around this book, which just had its issue 3 release this past week. I almost said volume because it's taking so long for these to come out. It's so much art, and Liber Mejo is going to a completely different level here that it's taken them about 1 year to release each book, and they're oversized, which is why I think we're not seeing any reprints, which they should be doing as these books come out for as lengthy of a delay it's been to get the entire issue out every year.
With the recent release of issue number 3, I think there is a newfound interest in this book. The fact that issue number 1 came out in 2022, issue 2 in 2023, and issue 3 in 2024, all of a sudden I have new customers walking in going, what's that cool thing? And that's why we're seeing such a massive increase this week. People just want number 1.
Increase of 500%. So we have option news for sure, but because there's no other editions coming out, probably because their focus is getting the oversized. When we say oversized, I'm not meaning this is a huge book. No, it's a large book, similar to a DC Black Label magazine size.
And that's a good thing. You want to see this art on as big of a display as you possibly can. Like Tom said, Liber Mejo is doing the work of his career in this book, and it's a crazy, trippy time travel story about these 2 assassins who are locked in this mortal beef with each other. And every time one of them kills a person in the world, the 2 of them are transported to a completely new time period, and Liber Mejo uses a completely different art style to illustrate each time period. It is a gorgeous book. It just took him way too long to draw it.
We just chatted about Mattson Tomlin recently because he is the writer of the Berserker movie that's coming out. We saw him on stage with Keanu Reeves just this past San Diego Comic-Con. Vicious Circle is now in good hands. And for a script that has been nominated for multiple awards, it seems like it's very likely to actually happen.
You guys know who Adi Granov is? You probably should. One of my favorite artists, and we have our first ever Adi Granov cover in August's Mystery Mail Call.
X-Men #1. This guy has been bugging me about getting an Adi Granov cover in the box for years. And the moment we make it happen, and it's a San Diego Comic-Con Trinity Comics exclusive, you forgot to announce it, and we're almost sold out. Go to ComicTom101.com. Look at this beautifully drawn magic, this elegant Psylocke, this could be yours. And we're not only sending that, we're sending every single person an homage to Wolverine 1, first appearance of Patch, Wolverine as Patch, in the box by Cale New. ComicTom101.com. Support what we do. We'll send you some funny books.
Number 6 on the list. This is a video game, but not Borderlands. Oh yeah, that movie sucked. So, number 6 on the list, High on Life #1. This is actually based on a video game of the same name, produced by Squanch Studios. $4 average sales, and we're seeing high sales in the $8 to $10 range, but really, you can probably find this at your shop if they ordered it. This is one of those indie books that I just don't think a lot of people ordered. And really, since there's a lot of Justin Roiland hate out there, there aren't as many people who are just in on buying any books based on any of his properties.
Yeah, this is a game where he's actually voicing one of the main characters the entire time. It's got a lot of Rick and Morty vibes. I've never played it, but I watched a lot of gameplay in preparation for this video, and I'm definitely going to play it. It seems like a lot of fun, and as an animation, it's going to be perfect, which is where this franchise is headed, causing an increase of copies sold of 800%.
Yeah, it was just announced that J.B. Smoove, who plays Leon on Curb Your Enthusiasm, and he actually did a voice in the game as well, he is going to be taking this game into a animated series, and that's why it's on the list here. It's a 4-issue miniseries. Issue 3 comes out next week, and issue 4 is on FOC right now as we speak.
Which brings us to number 5 on the list with Kingdom Come #1, seeing $9 average sales, $109 for a CGC 9.8. That just happened in July. An increase of copies sold of 213% because this fall, we're going to be seeing a documentary on one of the most legendary pieces of work that Alex Ross has ever done. This 4-issue series has been cited and referenced in so much media over the years that a documentary that's going to bring in upwards of 30 different creators that include Todd McFarlane, Brian Pulido, Amanda Connor, Mark Waid, who's the writer, all coming together to just celebrate the creation of this legendary work.
Yeah, this book always meant a lot to me. It's one of the first comics I ever read, and Alex Ross blew my mind way back in the day. We're seeing a 213% increase in copies sold of this book, and Kingdom Come is also going to be included in a 4 graphic novel box set that is inspired by James Gunn's Superman movie, and you've got Kingdom Come in there, You got All-Star Superman, you got Superman for All Seasons, my favorite Superman story, and then Whatever Happened to the Men of Tomorrow by Alan Moore.
If you haven't read this book, you absolutely need to. I love Alex Ross, and this, again, kind of like Ryan, was one of the first things that I read that I knew was him, and it was just so good. Every single page is just dripping with detail. The story is deep. It explores characters that really, a lot of the DC universe had just kind of forgotten these classic characters, and it is just great to see all of them back, and Mark Waid and Alex Ross do a fantastic job. This is a great book.
This book is beloved. The 30-year anniversary is just in a couple years. The Kickstarter isn't even live, and people are buying this book in anticipation of the hype train that has been going at full speed for the duration of its existence. It's just speeding up in a couple months with the courtesy of this documentary.
We're here at number 4 on the list, and this might be one of the bigger spec plays on this week's list, and Tom actually called this book last week. We have Marvel Superhero Secret Wars, issue number 8 from 1984. This is the classic black suit cover. We're seeing $180 average sales with a 9.8 hitting $505 earlier this month.
An increase of copies sold of 180% on a book that I think is still selling on the lower side. But it's probably because since we chatted about this book last, just a short 2 months ago, there's been an increase of Slavs added to the census of 355, 81 of which graded at a 9.8. And in the last 2 months, we have a new 9.9 added to the census, as well as a new 10.0. And there were only 4 before the last 2 months. Now there's 5. If we see any new 9.9s, any 10.0s, especially in this market, post the Avengers Secret Wars Russo brothers announcement, I think it's going to start breaking even more records or starting to adjust more to what we think this book could be long term.
We know there's been controversy about when the actual first appearance of the black suit is, and we may see that carry over into the movie universe, because what if Tom Holland doesn't get it in Secret Wars? What if he actually gets it as early as the Venom movie? This could cause a lot of controversy, and it might send other books spiking as well.
This is the origin of the black suit. This is how Spidey gets it that would later become Venom. Here's the thing. In 3 months, Venom is coming out. And if this scene happens where Tom Holland gets the symbiote, well, then we're not going to see this special moment play out on the big screen in 3 years when Secret Wars hits, which means that the momentum is going to be different, which also implies that this book will probably be pretty volatile along the way.
I just don't want to wait 3 years to see Tom Holland get the symbiote, you know? He's always wishy-washy about continuing to play Spider-Man anyway. And, 3 years, who knows if he'll even be in this role at all. So give it to me in Venom. We also don't know if Tom Holland is going to be in Venom: The Last Dance either. So this whole spec in general feels a little uncertain for me.
I still think this is one of the biggest potential for a Marvel blue chip book because aside from the spec possibility, it's a must for every Spider-Man and comic collector to own at least one.
This is a perpetually relevant book and an absolute must-have. Most of the new collectors I talk to, this is on their list of books that they got to have. But check out these high prices. They are half of what they were just a couple years ago. And it's not the only blue chip book on this list that's halved.
Number 3 on the list is Doctor Doom #1, the first solo series. And this book came out just a few years ago, back in 2019, and it's affordable. $8 average sales, $100 for a CGC 9.8. It's a pretty cool Doom cover. It's a modern book. And I guess when you're looking for modern Doom classics, yeah, I mean, this is on that list. While all these others are just going to the moon, and there's no real reason to spec on them safely. They're all very high risk. Seeing one $10 or less feels like a safe play.
This was a 10-issue series from 2019, like Tom mentioned, written by Christopher Cantwell with art by Salvador Larroca. If you can't afford Doom's first appearance in Fantastic Four #5, like most of us can't, this is a pretty easy, safe, low-cost alternative. And yeah, Doom spec is all over the place after the Robert Downey Jr. news from San Diego. This is kind of a no-brainer, at least based on how cool this cover looks, but really, you can do a lot worse.
Yeah, I like how you mentioned FF5, because if you put that on the spectrum, which was the #1 hottest book in the world on the Hot 10 this past week, that goes over here, and all the way on the other end, when you considered every key and every cover appearance, you have this book, Doctor Doom #1, first ongoing solo series, a modern key book, but yeah, it's under $10, but it's the other side of the spectrum. High risk, but super low investment.
This book doesn't even come up on my radar of Doom keys. I mean, if someone came into the shop and said, hey, Russ, I'm looking for a Doom key because I'm really trying to spec on this Doom thing, I wouldn't even think about the 2019 Doom run. Like, it's not something that I would put. So the fact that the comic community is getting behind this book and spending the money, I mean, there doesn't have to be a whole lot of energy behind this, and that's a lot like number 2 on the list. Absolute blue chip key, selling for half of what it was just a couple years ago, but a major book nonetheless. Number 2 on the list, Uncanny X-Men 266. First full appearance, first cover appearance of Gambit. Second full appearance of Gambit, $215 average sales, $576 for CGC 9.8, which still feels criminally low. But like we talked about last week, Channing Tatum showing up in the new Deadpool Wolverine movie has caused so much speculation, even if there's not a whole lot behind it.
It seems like Channing Tatum's trying to will this to happen. I mean, he posted his training video, how he got prepared to portray Gambit on the big screen. And he's posted as well saying that he prays every day that the movie that was supposed to happen, that kind of got him in line for this role to begin with, actually comes to fruition and ends up becoming a thing. But it's entirely in the hands of Bob Iger and Kevin Feige.
We have a 110% increase of copies sold of this book this week compared to last week. And like some of the other books on this list, the other key of this character, in this case, X-Men Annual number 14, that's also over on the trending 20 list over on Key Collector. And I might have been wrong last week. I took a little bit of a dump on Channing Tatum and Gambit and his performance in this movie. I thought it was a little silly, but after thinking about it, it's kind of supposed to be silly. And I think if they approach it with the right attitude, then they could make a solo Channing Tatum Gambit movie work.
Yeah, we're seeing the community buzz so hard that it's pushing comic sales up with the hope that the speculation officially can pay off. You would think that if it was just an average appearance, an adequate appearance, that this book would not be trending post-movie, that it got the love that it was going to get this year prior to the release, but that's not the case, especially when you look at the number 1 most trending book of the week. Hit the like, slap the subscribe button, and let's hit him with the number 1 book.
We did have a lot of cool surprise cameos in Deadpool and Wolverine, but clearly the fans, the community is gravitating towards Channing Tatum's Gambit. There is one other character who is kind of focus of a lot of fan hype and interest right now, and it's definitely not Jennifer Garner's Elektra, who first appears in Daredevil 168.
And it's absolutely not Tomb of Dracula 10, which would be the first appearance of Blade, portrayed wonderfully by Wesley Snipes, coming back from after almost 20 years away from the role.
The number 1 most trending book in the world this week is the first appearance of Laura Kinney, the first appearance of X-23 in NYX number 3. We're seeing $450 average sales, $1,050 for a CGC 9.8. We are going to see Hugh Jackman very likely portray Wolverine in the future. However, he will pass the mantle, and it would be a fool's move to not pass it to X-23.
I'm a little partial to the Cavalry myself. I wasn't expecting to see Henry Cavill in this movie either. I wouldn't mind if he took over the role either. But Laura Kinney just makes too much sense. She did a really good job in Deadpool Wolverine with the very small amount of screen time that she was given, and we're seeing a 110% increase in copies sold of her first appearance because people are hyped about this character after seeing her in the movie.
If you look at the fact that there are 2,447 copies available at a 9.8, and you think about how many of X-Men 266 there are, and how many of Secret Wars 8 there are, this book has a lot of demand, and for a good reason. It's actually less available in high grade, and for such a next generation character who really is something that we will be seeing in the future in the movies, this is a great book to pick up, and I think this is not going anywhere.
I appreciate you mentioning next-gen heroes, because that's what X-23 is, and investors and speculators have been focusing on next-gen Marvel heroes for quite a long time, probably more in the last 5 years than most other modern books. Young Avengers 1 is down. Who's specking on Riri Williams right now? Cassie Lang? Does anyone care? Kate Bishop? We know we're going to get Patriot. They mentioned Noah's name in trailer for Captain America Brave New World, but it hasn't even made the trending list. I would even put X-23 up against Miles Morales right now because Ultimate Fallout 4 has fallen from grace. That book is down 40 to 50% in the last year, maybe even last 6 months.
Daphne Keane herself is certainly down to come back to play the role again. She actually had this to say on a recent podcast. I would love to come back. I would pay them to come back. Playing Laura has been the biggest honor of my life. To me, we've only scratched the surface with her since she's such a complex character. She's so cool, just from a fan standpoint.
Who do you want to see the Wolverine mantle passed down to? X-23, Danny DeVito? Let us know in the comment section below, and as always,
Geek responsibly.
Enough said.